Welcome back to the Safety Roadmap Podcast. Today, we'll be touching on a topic that's often brought up by those looking to secure their workplace from hazards and care about health and safety.
Ever get that little jolt, when you flip a light switch and nothing happens?
Yeah.
You kind of just assume it's off, right? But somewhere, maybe deep in the walls, there's still that chance of electricity just waiting.
Right, lurking.
Lurking. Now picture that. But it's not just your living room light. We're talking industrial scale.
Mm-hmm.
That's the world of lockout, tag out procedures. And luckily, you've provided some amazing Arabic materials to guide us.
And it's those procedures so carefully laid out, they're really what stands between a worker and, well, a potential disaster, right?
Absolutely. And our source material here, it pulls no punches. It's visual. We've got diagrams, photos, almost like a training manual in itself.
Mm-hmm.
And the illustrations they use showing what happens if you don't do lockout, tag out. Strong message.
It really drives home that this isn't just, protecting a machine, though that matters too. We're talking about human lives here.
Exactly. Every lock, every tag, it's almost like a what would you say, a silent alarm?
A silent sentinel, almost, yeah, saying, nope, not today, accident, not on my watch.
I like that, silent sentinel. And this deep dive, we got to start with the basics. What is lockout out, really?
At its core, it's about making a barrier between a worker and any energy source that could hurt them. Not just flipping a switch off, but disconnecting it totally, that physical lock, the tag with the warning.
So no chance of it accidentally powering back up while someone's working.
Exactly.
And this source material, they don't mess around with the types of energy we're talking about. It's a whole laundry list way beyond just electricity.
Absolutely.
Mechanical energy, things like, gears, flywheels, then you've got your hydraulics, pneumatics.
Chemicals under pressure.
Chemicals, right. Heat from steam. It's, you name it, they've got a procedure.
Because even something like, say, leftover pressure in a line, that seems harmless, but
Right. If it releases at the wrong time.
boom, disaster. That's why understanding the why behind each step is so important. The energy's still there, even if it looks quiet.
Okay, so that's where these numbered steps come in, right? The source lays it out almost like a recipe. If you miss one ingredient,
You're in trouble.
big trouble.
And like a recipe, prep is key. Step 1, you got to identify every energy source for that equipment. Not just the obvious ones either. Trace those flows, the pathways, the valves, the switches.
This is where those visuals are gold. They're showing us, circuit breakers, valves as disconnect points, literally cutting off the energy's lifeline.
Exactly. And once you've found them all, then it's isolation time. Physically disconnecting the equipment from each and every one. Locking out valves, maybe disconnecting lines, even blocking moving parts. We're talking layers of protection here.
So no chance of energy sneaking through. It's got to be thorough
If
because
it's missing even one source, that could be it. That's why they hammer this verify isolation idea. Don't assume, prove it's disconnected.
Which makes me wonder, let's say you do all that, right? Identified everything, disconnected, locked, tagged, you're feeling good. But how do you know for sure, 100%, that there's no leftover energy hiding somewhere? Like, how do you check that?
Now that's where things get really interesting. And that's where we get into this idea of potential energy, which it's a tricky one. It's like, almost like you're a detective or something. You're trying to find those little bits of energy hiding away, making sure nothing dangerous is gonna surprise you.
Right. Before, we were talking about how even when you think you've turned everything off, there might still be some residual energy just hanging around, kind of like when you think you've cleaned out the fridge, right? But then like weeks later, you find that old container in the back.
Hopefully nothing quite that nasty lurking in the machinery. But seriously, this is where our source material gets super specific. It's not enough to just, hope the residual energy is gone. You have to actually neutralize it.
So how do you actually do that? What does that look like?
Okay, imagine you're working with a system that uses pressure, like a balloon, okay? Even if you pinch the opening closed, there's still air trapped inside.
Right. You can't just pretend it's not there.
Exactly. You have to release it slowly and safely. And that's what they talk about in the source material techniques, like bleeding off pressure, using special valves, following the right procedures just to let that energy out in a controlled way. Or say you have a system with capacitors, those things that store electrical charge, like little batteries. You got to make sure those are totally drained before going anywhere near it.
So it's like making sure a gun is unloaded, even if the safety is on. Right. You don't want any surprises.
Exactly. Eliminate any chance of that energy getting released when you don't want it to.
It's not just electrical systems or pressurized ones either. Think about a big flywheel, one of those heavy disks that spin to store energy.
Oh, right. So even if the machine is off, that wheel might still be spinning like a top slowing down. Precisely. You wouldn't want to start working on it while it's still got all that energy stored up. The source really emphasizes waiting until all moving parts are completely stopped. No exceptions.
It's like they keep saying, you got to be thorough, think ahead, because energy can hide in some pretty sneaky places.
And that's where the human element is so important. Because you can have all the right procedures, all the safety equipment in the world, but if people aren't paying attention or start taking shortcuts.
That's when things get really dangerous. And speaking of the human factor, the source makes this distinction between affected employees and authorized employees.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Right. So an authorized employee, they're the ones who are trained and allowed to actually do the lockout tagout. They're the ones who know the ins and outs of the energy controls, the hazards, all the steps.
So they're like the designated drivers of lockout tagout responsible for making sure everyone stays safe.
That's a good way to put it. But then you got the affected employees. They're the ones who work around the equipment, even if they're not the ones directly working on it.
Okay, so they might not be turning the wrenches, but they still need to know what's up.
Absolutely. Imagine this. An affected employee sees a machine, it's offline, the lights are off, no noise. They might just assume it's safe.
And wander a little too close.
Exactly. Maybe even try to fix it themselves. That's why communication is so important. Everyone needs to know what those locks and tags mean. Just because a machine looks off doesn't mean it is off.
He's like those signs you see at parks. Do not feed the bears. Even if you don't see any bears around, doesn't mean it's a good idea to,
Test your luck. And just like with bear safety, communication is key. Everyone on the worksite needs to know about the lockout procedures, what the risks are, who to talk to if they have questions.
It's about creating that culture of safety where anyone can speak up if they see something off.
Absolutely. And that brings us to something else the source really emphasizes: documentation. As good as we like to think our memories are, they're not perfect. We need a system, a way to keep track of everything, to make sure these procedures are followed every single time.
So it's not just about the physical act of locking and tagging, but also about having a record, a history of those actions.
Right. And that's where we'll pick up in part 3, because that paper trail, it's more important than you might think.
It's funny, we're so focused on the physical stuff, the locks and tags, making sure the energy is really off. But this source material, they're serious about the paperwork too.
Yeah.
Every little thing documented, like it's going in a museum or something.
Well, it's like they say, right? If it isn't written down.
It didn't happen.
Exactly. Except here, it's more like, if it's not documented, how do we know we're serious about safety? Those forms, the checklist, they're proof.
And our source material, they're not messing around. Sample forms, diagrams,
right,
even flow charts.
Right, because they want to make it field-proof, and for good reason. Imagine something does go wrong, an accident.
Oh, right. Those records, they become evidence.
Exactly. Investigators can figure out, okay, what happened? Why did it happen?
Yeah.
How do we make sure it never happens again?
It's like a black box, but for workplace safety. Even if things go sideways, you've got that data.
Exactly. And beyond just accidents, those records, they help you get better. You analyze them, see any patterns, any weak spots.
And you can tweak your procedures, make them even safer. It's like you said, not just checking boxes, but actually using that info.
Right. And speaking of making things safer, the training aspect, can't forget that.
Because knowing the rules once, that only gets you so far, right?
It fades, yeah. Got to refresh that knowledge. Regular training that keeps those safety protocols top of mind, whether you're a seasoned pro or brand new on the job.
And it's more than just memorizing steps, isn't it? It's that whole mindset.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's got to be part of the culture. You're empowered to ask questions, to point out something seems off. That's huge.
It's like we keep coming back to this idea of communication, right? From physically locking things out to having that paper trail and now making sure everyone understands why.
It all ties together.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, yeah, we've got these machines, these systems, but it's people using them. And people make mistakes.
That's why this has been such an interesting deep dive, I think. Lockout, tag out, it seems so simple on the surface.
Right, just lock it, tag it, done.
But there's so much more to it. The procedures, the documentation, the training. It's all about building those layers of protection.
Exactly, so that everyone can go home safe at the end of the day.
Well said. And a huge thank you to everyone listening for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic, but until then, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay safe.
Thanks for sticking with us until the end of this episode. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen and engage with our content. If you found value in what you heard today, please don't forget to hit that like button. It helps us reach more people and lets us know we're on the right track. And if you haven't already, make sure to follow our channel so you never miss an upcoming episode. We've got some great topics lined up that you won't want to miss. Lastly, if you know someone who could benefit from this information, why not share the video with them? Spread the knowledge and help your colleagues stay informed. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.